Ron DeSantis, you might have heard, fired some of his staffers during this shakeup of his campaign. But don't worry, it was only like 10 people. Everyone's like freaking out, implying that this is a big deal for him. Well, actually, it's not just 10 people, because he also had to fire an aide who earlier this week, as we showed you, shared this pro-DeSantis video that included this shot. Yes, that's a Nazi symbol, the Sonnenrad that you're seeing. So that guy was also fired, thankfully. Nate Hochman, who was a speechwriter on the DeSantis campaign, he was fired, which is a consequence. So good to see that. Will there be like a larger conversation about the fact that someone who is writing your speeches apparently thinks that Nazi symbols are really cool and edgy? I don't expect that conversation will be had, but that just means that's only 11 people. Everyone is freaking out over just 11 people being fired. Sorry, they've laid off 38 of their staffers from the original 90. Every single day we're hearing about more people being fired. It's nearly 40% of his entire staff has now been fired over the past couple of weeks. Like immediately after they responded to the initial reports saying people are overreacting, they went and then fired far more people. So maybe this is the beginning, JR, of the next phase of the DeSantis campaign. But let's just point out that generally you do not need to fully reboot your presidential campaign when you're barely even officially running for president yet. We haven't been through a single debate. We haven't been through a single primary, and already you're in some pretty dire straits. What do you think?
It looks pretty bad, man. And all the attack ads or the anti-DeSantis ads write themselves, bro. Look, he's got issue with firing people. How is a president going to initiate jobs and grow our economy if he can't even keep his campaign employees employed? How is he going to work with, unity within the country amongst, we have this divisions amongst races and everything like that. If he's got racists in here putting up Nazi insignia over his face, because did he not know the belief systems of these folks that work with him? Maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't directly hire them all. But then once you see the direction of your campaign, he went along with it just fine. This is no surprise that there's Nazi insignia in the middle of this ad. Yet again, the guy apparently went rogue and tweeted out. But why does he have these mindsets? What else did he affect with these types of belief systems? They should talk about it. We always talk about how we need to have this open transparency of these presidential candidates. What is it about this guy did you guys like? Who hired him and why did they hire him? What's good about him at all? And by the way, they said they're firing these folks also because they spent way more money than they wanted to at this particular point. He's also bad with the purse. He has no idea how to balance a budget. He doesn't know what he's doing with money. Apparently, these guys are just a clown show, but they'll tell you the opposite every time they step in front of a podium.
Yeah. They've talked about the millions that they've spent, and I don't know what they've spent it on. He hasn't done massive rallies. He's flown around a little bit with some of his aides and given tiny little gatherings. What are they spending the money? I mean, we know fundamentally what the money is being spent on. It is just flowing into the coffers of people that he knows. Consultants and stuff like that are getting paid 10 times what they should to accomplish 10 times less than you would expect for the money. Man. That's the way that it works. Anyway, you know who's enjoying this? Donald Trump, who bleated, Fox is desperately trying to find a replacement for Ron DeSanctimonious, but only Trump, despite a weaponized Justice Department, is working. Reminds me of 2016, doesn't it? I guess, yes. It is pathetic. It reminds me of how pathetic the state of the Republican Party is, just like it does you.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.